keep my freedom, I'll keep my guns. Try to keep my money and my religion too.
Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the Clay Douglas show?
My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something.
We both took the same oath, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that.
I'm going to keep my big BA, keep my friends the same, keep the government out of my business, and y'all can keep the change.
He is the free American, Clay Douglas.
We know what we need, we know who to blame.
Catch the Free American Hour, weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
I'll keep the USA and y'all can keep the change.
For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamerican.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling 832-999-8621.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host, Clay Douglas. And my guest today is Dr. JakeWade of Timothy Bible College. Hello, Jake. How are you?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Jake, tell me a little bit about Timothy Bible College, first of all, because now Jake and I have known each other since we were doing the I was doing the Free American and the Free American Hour, and he was doing the Little Red Schoolhouse.
Yeah, we started that because of the deplorable condition of the public school system. We figured that they needed another place to go, and we were truly of the mind that if we could re-educate the American people back to and you use Liberty Villages, but back to that wonderful day of yesteryear, as the Lone Ranger would say, that where education was real, and it was mostly in the home and in the church, not some federal program to clone everybody for a workforce. And the Little Red Schoolhouse was an aim at putting us back in that little small environment where everybody could get one-on-one with a qualified teacher or parent whenever they had the need. And our people were better educated. The man who has done a lot of research on this with David, I can't think his last name right now, but he has done a lot of research, and he claims that back then the fifth graders were reading on the same level as are the second year college people now. So we have gone way downhill. He will also tell you, David Barton will also tell you that we have lost pace with the rest of the developed world. We come in a shabby fourth or fifth in most determinations on math and science, and we used to be the number one technological force in the world, and we also used to believe that we had personal rights and that the rugged individualism of the American person was what got this country going and great to begin with. So with that in mind, we started the Little Red Schoolhouse and found that we could find no teachers who could teach the curriculum. We use mostly a Becca Bible-based curriculum, and it is far superior to what they're using in the public school. Not only could we not find anybody that could teach that broad spectrum of the curriculum, but they lacked the drive and the impetus that we need in preparing young people for life, not for some government workforce. So to make a long story short, we felt like we needed to produce our own teachers, and therefore I founded Timothy's Bible College, and it has been going about 16 years now. And of course, you are political science director of our history department because of your exemplary work in political history, and especially the stuff you did on the Rothschilds, which we've been using in our schools ever since you brought it out in the Free American.
Yeah, I brought it out in the Free American. That's part of my book, and I did submit my book, Mystery Babylon, The New World Order Unveiled. It's basically a thesis for my master's degree. So,
and it was excellent.
You know, I've just been I've been trying to do a story because I really want to make a change, Jake. You know, I think I talk about this all the time. I've been talking about it for 20 years. I've been talking about psychopolitical warfare. I've been telling people, now wait a minute, I read the Constitution, I read the Bill of Rights, I read the Declaration of Independence, and I read the Communist Manifesto, and every plank on the Communist Manifesto is intact in America today. Who won the Cold War?
Yeah.
and I've always wanted to do something, and I feel after the accident, my accident, Jake, was and I really don't want to dwell on it because it's in the past. It's gone. It's over. I can't. There's nothing I can do to change that. I can change the future, and I want to redirect my energies instead of just telling you everything that happened in the past, and it's happening right now. I kind of want to tell you what's happening in the future, because I've got a lot of people. As a matter of fact, I just kicked one guy off of my chat room because he was going, well, the Constitution's dead, you know. The Constitution's dead. They destroyed that, and yeah, but if we don't, if that's your attitude, and you know, you might as well bury the sucker. You know, I think it's still alive. I think it's still one of the best documents for self-government that's ever been created in the past 4,000 years.
Absolutely.
And
you know, one of the problems, and you hit the nail on the head about our country, one of the things that we do is we tend to, as a people, live in a recent past and complain about everything that happened last year or last week or whatever, and you don't build a future that way. I absolutely agree with you. You can't change what happened 5 minutes ago.
But you can learn from it, you know. And if you can't learn from it, some of the most brilliant people of our history have told you that you're doomed to repeat it.
That's right. If you look at the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, Alexander's, the Babylonian Empire that you have so eloquently written about, all of the great, even the Ming, the thing which corrupted them, we are doing all over again. We're doing the same thing. We have the same arrogant, self-seeking, self-serving leadership, and we seem to get more and more tolerant of that every day. We're going to end up repeating the same thing that happened to those other societies, and they died.
When I saw what happened at Waco, that was the changing. You know, it's like my life's been divided into these epoch moments. You know, when I saw what happened to Waco, I said, that can't be happening here. This is the United States. This ain't Red China. This can't be happening.
It was a very defining moment as to the condition that we had sunk to in this country.
And when I did,
one of the precepts that those people came from Europe to settle this country on was freedom of religion. It's just ludicrous in a country where that's one of our platforms that you turn around and say, we don't like you because of your religion, and go in and bring tanks with flamethrowers and burn you out. That is absolutely, that's barbaric.
Well, it was, in my opinion, as your political science person, I'm not sure what to call myself, you know. I mean, there wasn't any applications for publishers, you know, when I started this thing, or talk show host. But they are really programming us. They're and why do I scare them so much? That's really amazing to me. I'm just an old biker from Texas, you know. And
well, you know what? Both of us do. Apparently, I have the same problem you do. We have an advantage or a disadvantage because of our physical side and our presence and our voices. We demand kind of an authoritative approach anyway, and a lot of people don't like that. But who do you pick for leadership if it isn't somebody that can stand in the gap and stand up and take the heat and say something?
I think the time to say that we are, everything that I predicted, everything I talked about years ago is happening right now, Jake. The whole prison camp concept, you know, we paid $350 million to Halliburton to build that. And what I see happening here in the political trends, trying to learn from history, is the fact that this has happened before. It happened in Russia, it's happened in Germany, this rise of the police state.
The one thing, though, Mr. Douglas, that separates you from the rest of the babblers out there, that, and good or bad, you can be a Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity or whatever, the thing that separates you is that you routinely, every time I listen to you, I hear hope. I hear we ain't done yet. I hear we can get this done. And a rally or whatever troops are available to try to put this thing together so we can take back America. And that's a basic premise of the free American to begin with.
Absolutely. You know, and what's happened with our political system now is that it is basically two wings of the same bird. You know, we don't have it. They've created the semblance of Republican and Democrat, and to me, that's divide and conquer. Well, you're a Republican. Well, I'm a Democrat. You just want to give the money to the rich guys. Oh,
well, it's a game-playing technique because it is much like they're doing in Washington and on Wall Street. It is like playing Monopoly or playing some kind of board game, and you pick a side and you are loyal to the side irregardless of truth or outcome for a whole nation of people. You've got to make sure your team wins. And, you know, I have voted in the past. I've voted Republican as a, I guess you'd call me a pseudo-loyal Republican, but when they lie, when they do the same thing as the other party, I ought to throw them in the same basket and say it's not about party, it's not about wearing some shirt and voting for that team, it's about what's good for America.
I want us all to be free Americans, and I think, to me now, what I've, you know, I'm trying to analyze this. I'm trying to come up with answers, and because I first of all, if they were as powerful as they wanted us to believe they are, we'd still be under the Syrian Empire, wouldn't we?
Amen. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And can you?
Or Babylonian, either one. They're both the same water.
Yeah, I would say the Egyptian was too. You know,
that's right.
The royalty of Egypt. I mean, they just got on that boat and went over to England. You know.
Well, you can change the name of the leader and put a different T-shirt on him, but he still comes out the same.
You know, one 4th of July, I read the Declaration of Independence, and if you substituted Mexicans for Indians, it's exactly what's happening today.
Right? Right?
Now, the
Can I
answer...
plug in my 9 minutes sometime?
Absolutely, right now. Go right ahead. Go right ahead. We got 15 minutes in this segment here.
You sure have set it up. I've got a little outline I'd like to read, and I'm sure you will comment, but the first thing I've got on this is the window of our opportunity to return to some type of republic or some type of a self-government and restoration of rights won't remain open very long. I don't believe that. I think we have a huge opening in the window now, but it's going to slam shut soon. We must change, not just the leadership. And I got three things that must change. We got to get off this buy it now and pay later. There has to be no more of that. People have to get off of this buy now, pay later. We need real education, and we need less dependency on government. We are a crippled people. My wife's always saying, and she's quoting somebody else, that you don't keep throwing the fish at them, you teach them how to fish. Now, the main point I'd like to make is do not vote if you're looking for another scapegoat. We put people in office and then point at them because now we got somebody to take the pressure off of us. We need to change. If we want another scapegoat, it makes no difference who you put in there. There's just going to be somebody else we can blame everything on. This was a Christian republic. It is not now. We need to return to Christian, Patriot, republic, whatever you want to call it, but a republic is of the people, by the people, and for the people, not of the government, by the government, for the government. Bluntly, we must cease ungodly acts and behavior as a people. I said all that to load this up. I will only vote for Ron Paul. I don't think we have another real choice. I have met the man. He preached in the pulpit of the church that I have out here. He's real. I've sat and talked to him. He took time out in the rain to talk to me about education. Here's the problem. He's not a politician. He's not a good arguer. That's why he doesn't do great in debates. But we don't need an arguer. We need a political leader who is a Christian and who is a constitutional patriot, which this man is. The third party, I don't think, will get anybody elected. That's wrong, but it's what it is. The Tea Party originally was a good platform, and I think they've turned political.
It's worse than that. It's worse than that, Jake. They are basically backing a foreign entity, a foreign government here. You know, yeah, they've got Sarah Palin, who was John McCain's running mate,
right,
advocating a war with Iran, and frankly, I don't believe we need any more wars. You know, yeah. Who would Jesus bomb today? Who would Jesus bomb?
Right. Well, and here again, this is my fifth point on Ron Paul. He is not for a war, and if we do get in one, I think you and I, as oath takers, agree with him 100% that if you're going to do it, go kick butt, make it a war, not a police action, and do what you got to do and go home. You can't fight a war and call it a war if it's a police action and you're trying to teach other people how to do what we have as a failed government. It's ridiculous.
And Ron Paul also agrees with me on something, and now this is something that I'm working about. 40 years ago, I'm working on this column, Jake, and let me just share that with you for a second here. It's I walked out of prison 40 years ago with a novel under my arm. And I say that I don't say that with any apology, any hint of apology or excuse, because I say I've come a long way in knowledge and experience since I walked out of Texas prison with my first novel under my arm. I do not say this with any hint of embarrassment or apology. I was busted with pot, threatened with a life sentence if I did not accept a plea bargain of 7 years. My lawyer got to be president of the local bar association for me to get me to take the deal. The charge, possession of marijuana. The next state over, it was a misdemeanor. The novel that I wrote about it then was what this country would be like if all laws against victimless crimes were abolished and marijuana was used openly. It was science fiction then. Today, in 10 states, if you follow all their rules, guidelines, and pay off the state medical and pharmaceutical industries, a few million former lawbreakers can smoke what we smoked for 40 years without fears of fines or imprisonment in 10 states. Now, maybe some consider that to be progress. In my radical viewpoint, even those states are mere extensions of the swiftly emerging, even more intrusive police state of global government. True freedom? Waking up, walking out in the sunshine, plucking a bud off the plant the Bible calls a plant of renown, growing openly in my front yard, rolling it up, sharing a hit with my neighbor while I walk the dogs without fear of arrest or harassment by any governmental employee. Why should I have to pay a doctor for a plant God gave us? Now, I say here, many in the Christian and Patriot movement, as well as the program masses, have bought into the Hearst-created communist propaganda that allowed the communists to steal our #1 cash crop. You know, the one used to make the paper the Constitution, the Declaration, and the Bill of Rights was written on. In the process, they made criminals out of 40 million Americans. I was one of them. And I said that to tell you this. Ron Paul says there is a third war, another war that we need to stop right now. The war on terror is a war against anyone, anywhere in the world that is against global government and slavery. And he said the war on drugs needs to stop now. It needs to end. We've got more people in prisons than any other country out there, and I think the whole Patriot movement has missed this idea. They made 40 million of us into criminals for smoking something that God gave us. Well, how do you feel?
And we're not talking about some fly by night off the edge of the tree limb with Ron Paul. He is a former, and with that background, a medical professional. He is a doctor of medicine. He knows what he's talking about.
I put Ron Paul on the cover of my magazines. I've got Ron Paul up on the Free American website right now, and I'm telling you, folks, you know, the Tea Parties went against Ron Paul. Why would they do that?
Yeah.
Why would they do that? I mean, somebody's, you know, they're trashing Ron Paul. This is the one man out there that's got a chance to change everything the Tea Parties were supposed to be about. So what we're happening here is psychopolitics. I just did an article on that. The war comes to America, psychopolitics, and they're sitting there telling us, Jake, well, the war's going to be fought here in America this time. Yeah, the war's being fought in America this time, and the enemy's weak. The enemy's weak. They don't have helicopters. They don't have planes. They don't have bombers, so they're going to use unconventional means. He's talking about us.
Right. Can I throw in 2 points?
Yes, sir.
One of them is, let me look at this thing this way, assuming that I don't agree with you on, let's say, the marijuana issue. And I'm not saying one way or the other, but assuming that I am on another side to this. Here's the problem that we have. Even if I don't agree with you about that point, it is a political point or a constitutional point that if I am the government, have no right to take away that right of yours to take a plant that grows out there wild or in your backyard and tell you what to do with it. We got no right to do that. If you hurt somebody else with it, that is a whole different bird. But if you're going to go pick something out of your backyard and use it for your own use, and you're not damaging anybody else with it, my Constitution says, get out of my backyard. And the other point I want to make is on Ron Paul. I probably even come closer to agreeing with you on everything than I do him. I don't agree with him 100%, but who would? We're two different people, and we're in a country that should be celebrating the right of individualism. So the guy is a little older than I am. Maybe he knows something better than I know, and maybe I ought to, because he is mostly voting for or pushing for the things that I believe this country ought to be. We need to put him in and follow him. And if we have to tell him we don't agree with that, I think he would listen. My conversations with him would indicate that.
He sat in my booth with me when we were both speaking at a conference. So this is a real man. Just like
I sat in his office, same thing, down in Victoria and the one on the coast. I have sat in his office, and he is very down to earth, very honest and straightforward, and he's always got time for you. I think the guy's dandy.
Now, you know, I am probably a little heavier on Israel than he is, and about the Jewish control of our banking and film industries. But then again, I think, you know, he is a politician, and we are talking about a tremendous power, so I don't blame him for not talking about it, and he's got people like me that will talk about it.
Let me give you 2 points that this country ought to stand behind him on, and to me, it really gets very thin on everything else, but there are 2 points. One is, if I'm not mistaken, help me here, political science professor, but doesn't he promote getting rid of the Federal Reserve and getting us out of the UN?
Absolutely.
That, to me, is enough. That alone is enough to say, go put this guy in there, give him somebody like that to work in the Congress, and let us get off of our lazy butts and support him.
And let me do something real quick here. Let me do this.
In 2012, there was only one presidential candidate who predicted the economic collapse, who has never voted to raise your taxes, and who will bring our troops home. He has been right for decades.
This is the kind of government that was designed by our founders of the country. It's not what was written in the Constitution. We've only had an income tax since 1913. But if you want a welfare state, and if you want to police the world and pay for the defense of Japan and Germany, send foreign aid to the Soviet Union, you not only need the income tax, you need the Federal Reserve to print up the money when the deficit is accumulated. So we think the government should be much smaller.
During the next decade, the American people will become poorer and less free, while they become more dependent on the government for economic security. This country is in the middle of a recession for a lot of people. Michigan knows about it. Poor people know about it. The middle class knows about it. Wall Street doesn't know about it. Washington, D.C. doesn't know about it. But it's because of the monetary system and the excessive spending. There's no joke.
How about that?
Yeah, you know what? I don't like his voice. I don't think he's a great public speaker. I know he's not the best debater out there, and he's the #1 guy to put in the White House because of what he believes in and his leadership abilities, which ought to be why we hire these people.
That's right. But, you know, the Judson Phillips from the Tea Party Nation said Ron Paul is nothing more than a crazy racist and anti-Semite. Don't waste my time with any more Ron Paul crap. I mean, if you listen to all these other candidates, they're all echoing the same thing. Now, in my opinion, Jake, as a political science teacher, what ought to happen if we are still under the Constitution and not under some one-world government somewhere, all of these congressmen that voted for indefinite detention